What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Steel Curtain Call, a show here on Facebook and or YouTube dedicated completely to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am your host. My name is Patrick. Thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. Okay, so it's time to come back down to earth a little bit. It's time to refocus. We've really had a busy week when you think about it. We had poor Juju Smith-Schuster losing his bike yesterday. We were all trying to find it. You've had the ongoing Martavis Bryant drama, and most of us are still probably on cloud nine a little bit from that really big win against the Cincinnati Bungholes on Sunday, but it is time to come back down to earth and get ready for Week 8 because we're taking a road trip, baby. We're headed to the great city of Detroit to take on the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football. A little primetime love for the Steelers this week, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited about that because I always love it when the Steelers get to play Sunday Night Football, and over the past couple of years, the Steelers have kind of dominated Sunday Night Football as well, so I'm pretty excited about this matchup. Now, I've got to be completely honest with you guys. I'm a little nervous going into this week for two reasons. Reason number one is that the Lions right now are an angry football team. They started out the season 3-1. Everything was kind of going hunky-dory for them. But then because of a massive amount of injuries, which we'll get to here in just a second, they now sit at a 3-3 football team. So they're angry. Their backs are kind of against the wall a little bit, and they're playing at home in prime time. But I'm also a little afraid of them because they're fresh off of a bye week. So they've had that extra week of time to rest. They've had that extra week of preparation to watch the Steelers, to get ready for them. So yeah, I'm a little afraid of the Lions right now. And I'm also a little afraid of the Lions because this is a game that the Steelers should win. The Steelers come into this game clearly the better team. We could go by individual position matchups if you wanted to, but we could also look at the massive amount of injuries the Lions have right now. The Steelers should crush the Lions in this match. They should destroy them. But if you know anything about the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know they're a team that they tend to take the games that they should win and make them more interesting than they have to be, let teams stay around longer than they have to, or they just flat out lose them. But the Steelers' biggest key to victory, like I just said going into this match, is they have got to take advantage of a Lions team who are so vulnerable right now. And looking at all these injuries the Lions have, I almost feel a little bad for them because they've got so many. Let's take a look at their offensive line alone. Taylor Decker, who was their 2016 first-round draft pick, he has been out all year long trying to recover from shoulder surgery, but it gets worse. His backup, Gene Robinson, he is listed as questionable going into Sunday's game. Left guard TJ Lang is dealing with an injury, and he might miss Sunday's game. And then you've got Rick Wagner, the right tackle. He's also dealing with an injury as well. Now, that's just their offensive line. We haven't even talked about wide receivers yet. You've got Golden Tate, who is arguably their best receiver. He is going to miss Sunday's game because he is recovering from surgery as well. You got rookie wide receiver Kenny Golladay, a guy who I was a big fan of coming out of the draft, by the way. He's trying to recover from a hamstring injury, and that pretty much leaves you Eric Ebron, who, well, really hasn't had a great season so far, and it leaves you Marvin Jones. And that's kind of an advantage for the Steelers because if you know anything about Marvin Jones, you know he used to play for the Cincinnati Bengals. So this is a guy who we know very well. We should know how to cover him. And on the defensive side of things, you've got one of their defensive tackles, Haloti Ngata. This is a guy you should recognize if you're a Steelers fan. He used to play for the Baltimore Ratbirds for a good number of years. He is out for the season with a torn bicep. So when you stack all those injuries up, this is a Lions team right now that they are reeling. They are literally limping into this week. The Steelers have got to take advantage of that. I know that sounds bad almost, but they've got to take advantage of a weak Lions team. We need to crush them. Now we'll start with the Steelers' defensive keys to victory. This game should be an absolute feast for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense for a number of reasons. The Lions are currently ranked 30th in the National Football League in yards per play, and they're currently ranked 26th in the National Football League in yards per game. Matthew Stafford, he's been sacked 23 times in just 6 games. And that's not Matthew Stafford's fault. That's totally on the offensive line. And it's not really the offensive line's fault either. You can't really, fault anybody for injuries. They just happen. But because of all the injuries they've had at the offensive line position, poor Matthew Stafford's had to run for his life all year long. When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, they are one of the best pass rushing teams in pro football. They currently have 24 sacks on the season. They are ranked second in the NFL in that area, second only to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Keith Butler, if there was ever a game where you dial up a lot of pressure, it's this one right here. Now, another really big key to victory is keeping Matthew Stafford inside of the pocket. Look, I know there's an ongoing debate about Matthew Stafford. Is he elite? Is he not elite? Is he mediocre? Is he somewhere in the middle? Regardless of where you come down on Matthew Stafford, there's one thing we all should be able to agree on, and that's this. Matthew Stafford is one of the most dangerous players in professional football when he gets outside of the pocket. It's a lot like watching what Carson Wentz is doing right now, or should I say a young Ben Roethlisberger. When he gets outside of the pocket and starts scrambling, he's almost even more dangerous than usual. He can scramble, he can make plays on his legs, he throws the football better when he's running. They have really got to make sure that they not only bring him down with all the pressure they bring, but not let him get outside of the pocket. And two guys who I can immediately think of who Keith Butler should employ to keep an eye on him is Ryan Shazier and or Sean Davis. Those are two guys who really need to make sure he does not get outside the pocket and extend plays. And now let's look at the offensive keys to victory. Now here's the thing about the Lions defense is that it's kind of a polarizing defense because there's a decent amount of good things, but there's also a lot of bad things as well. Some of the bad includes that they're ranked near the bottom of the NFL in yards surrendered per play, and their pass rush is absolutely horrible. They only have 13 sacks on the season total. However, though, the Lions have been really good at taking the ball away from teams this season. They have 9 interceptions and 9 forced fumbles. They are also ranked 6th overall in rush defense, surprisingly. So how should the Steelers tackle this defense? Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yes, they are ranked 6th in the NFL in rushing defense, but I don't see any reason to take the ball out of Le'Veon Bell's hands right now. Over the last 2 weeks combined, Le'Veon Bell has 333 rushing yards, and he's also averaging 5 yards per carry. I know we're going up against a team that's a little bit better in rush defense, but right now Le'Veon Bell's got the hot hand. I see zero reason to take the ball out of his hands. And in terms of his overall workload, that doesn't really worry me. Le'Veon Bell is well-conditioned, he's in good shape, and as long as he's on this team, he's going to be the workhorse. I don't see any reason that we should cut his carries. Do I think maybe James Conner should get maybe more than 2 or 3 carries per game? Sure, I think maybe we could get Conner maybe 6, 7, 8 carries per game. Maybe we could increase that a little bit, and maybe give Bell a little bit more of a breather, but there seems to be this discussion forming of we have drastically got to cut Bell's carries because we're overworking him too much, and I just don't see it. Bell's in good shape, he's well-conditioned, and I don't think you take the ball out of his hands right now. Now, here's the thing. I am not suggesting that we take the ball out of Bell's hands, that we pass the ball 55 times this game and only run him 15 times like the Jaguars game, but here's what I am saying. You are able to attack the Lions secondary. They give up a lot of big plays. Their secondary has not been good in that area this year. I do think Ben Roethlisberger is going to be able to have his way a little more in this game than most. And it's actually a little unfortunate because Martavis Bryant, a guy who I thought would be perfect to implement in a game like this because of how fragile they are in their secondary with allowing big plays, Bryant would have been perfect in this game. But as we all heard the news today, Mike Tomlin is benching Martavis Bryant coming into this week. And I got to be totally honest with you guys, I was totally okay with the decision. I think it's important for a head coach to create a culture in the locker room of us, not you. Martavis Bryant going after Juju Smith-Schuster like he did on social media, that just wasn't cool. That was immature. That was pathetic. And I fully applaud Mike Tomlin for his decision to sit him this week. He needs a little bit of tough love. Fully agree with the decision. Nevertheless, it is pretty unfortunate because I thought he would have been perfect to implement into a game like this. But you've still got guys who can take the top off of defenses. You've got Antonio Brown. He can take the top off of a defense any given day of the week. They're also vulnerable over the middle of the field. I expect Eli Rogers to get a lot more snaps because Martavis Bryant is gone in this game. And look, even though Eli hasn't gotten that many snaps this year, we saw what he could do last year. We saw what he can do in practice. He's a shifty, speedy little slot receiver who is more than capable at attacking the middle of the field. So I expect to see him more. Hey, Vance McDonald. The Steelers want to use him in the middle of the field more. They want him to be their big vertical seam threat. They could use him more in this game. Now, the thing is, though, he actually has to catch the ball. That's the only problem. And the big question arises, if you're not going to play Martavis Bryant in this game, then who's going to fill his place? Well, that's an obvious one. I think Justin Hunter probably is going to be the guy who slides into the spot this week. And here's the thing about Justin Hunter. He is not the athlete at all that Martavis Bryant is, but metric-wise, he's got a lot of the same stuff going on. He is 6'4", he's got 4.2 speed, and if you don't remember, Ben Roethlisberger was a very big fan of Justin Hunter in training camp. In fact, he praised him multiple times. He established pretty big chemistry with him early, and they used him a lot in red zone packages during training camp. So I would fully expect him to be the guy who slides in for Martavis Bryant. And look, if Martavis Bryant flipped out over Juju catching one touchdown pass, I can't imagine what Bryant's going to do if Justin Hunter comes in this game and has a big game. I can only imagine what he'll do this time. But like I said, I am not suggesting that we take the ball out of Le'Veon Bell's hand right now. He's got the hot hand. He's averaging 5 yards per carry. Like I said, rushed for 333 yards over the last 2 weeks. The game plan needs to be run Le'Veon Bell. I'm just saying that The Lions are a team who are vulnerable in their secondary. They give up a lot of big plays, a lot of big yards. You are going to be able to pass the ball easier against this team. So I do think we could see Ben throwing the football a little bit more in this game. Other small little keys to victory, the Steelers have got to score in the red zone. And I know that's kind of an obvious duh thing to say, but this is a problem that's becoming all too common. And down the stretch, if the Steelers want to be a successful team, if they want to clinch the AFC, get the #1 seed, make a deep playoff run, they're going to have to start scoring in the red zone. We all love Chris Boswell, but we cannot rely on Chris Boswell forever. Another small little key to victory I throw in there is that the Steelers have got to do a better job playing situational football on offense. And I'm mainly referring to third down situations. I went back and watched the tape on NFL Game Pass of the Bengals game, and I still couldn't get over the fact that twice they had 3rd and 1 situations with the game that Le'Veon Bell was having, and they passed the ball. And not a small pass, not a quick slant, not a screen. We're talking go route down the sideline. Todd Haley, I love you. I think you've done a great job with this offense as a whole, but that is a extreme failure to play situational football. You got to knock stuff like that out. And that pretty much wraps up my keys to victory, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. What are your keys to victory? How do you guys think the Steelers should tackle this game? Let me know in the comments. Remember, guys, please follow us on Twitter. We are at SCurtainCall33. Like I said, I want to answer your questions here on the show. You can email us, thesteelcurtaincall33@gmail.com. Remember to like the show on Facebook, facebook.com/thesteelcurtaincall. And last but not least, YouTube. You guys know how YouTube works. If you like the videos, hit that subscribe button. That's really going to make me happy. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me here tonight. We will see you back next week recapping this game. Hopefully, we're recapping a victory because, man, you guys haven't seen it yet because we're so early on here into the channel, but I'm just not in a good mood whenever the Steelers lose. That's just something you guys don't want to see. So hopefully we're recapping a victory. All right, guys, until next week, good night. Here we go, Steelers. Let's beat them Lions.